Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you for dropping in. Welcome to Healing Body, Mind, and Soul. This is Aeriol Asher, your host, and today I have the honor and privilege to spend some time with my dear friend, Linda Lenore. Now, I've known Linda for a really long time, and I can't say enough good things about her. She has proved to be not only a Feng Shui master, a healer, just like really on top of energy management, but also a fine speaker, an excellent mentor, business coach. Linda really has a lot of wisdom to share. So you're gonna wanna lean in to this conversation with Linda Lenore. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Aeriol. And wow, what an introduction. Can I take you with me when I go out?
I wish you would, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful, beautiful day.
It is wonderful and a most auspicious day. We're just getting ready for the Chinese New Year, and I feel so blessed to have you as my guest. It's amazing. Can you tell us, Linda, a little bit about the work you do and who it's for, so that people understand exactly what you do?
Well, the main focus has always been around the home, the energy of the home. And I started out doing interior design to begin with, and then was introduced to Feng Shui 35 or so years ago. And it was in a very negative way that I was introduced to it, and I was going to disprove it. Of course, here's the joke on me, right?
Ooh, I love that juicy story. I want to dive into that one, yeah.
And so what I do is I help people to really become aware of the energy of their environments, both if they have a home office or if they work in a corporation or wherever it happens to be that they're working, and in their home, and how that is affecting them on various levels. You know, if it's really supporting them, or if it's stagnating them, or if it's actually undermining them. So just becoming aware of energy, good energy, toxic energy, and how to shift that energy so that it benefits you.
Awesome. Linda, while you were talking, I hope I can just jump in, but I just got a flash. You know, I saw psychic medium John Edward last week, and I loved that he explained to the audience that Australia at the time was having fires and everything. And he said to think that the fires in Australia don't affect us here, and we were in California in the Bay Area, is like thinking that your liver isn't part of you, because and I flashed upon that, because what you were saying about the home really is your body and your energy system. And so you can't really say that the environment that you live in is not the same as the environment within you, right? I mean, am I off base here? Am I correct in this feng shui thing?
Yes, you're absolutely on target. And in fact, every part of the built environment has a representation of some sort, feng shui-wise, with the human body. For instance, the foundation of a house are the feet, and the studs are your bones. The attic is actually your brain, and your higher consciousness. So every part of the built environment does have something that it represents in the human body. And very often when someone has an illness, I can very easily, when they say what it is, and I'll say, well, go and check this part. Go and check the electrical system in this room, or go and do this. There's something that's not working. And invariably, that's the issue, and that immediately reduces or alters the energy of their illness so that they start getting well.
Absolutely. This is fascinating stuff. Can you tell that story a little bit about how you got started? Because I know a little bit of the story because I've heard you speak. But can you tell our audience, so if they're not savvy about feng shui, that I love that you came in a cynic. So not a cynic, but
I was a cynic. That's a nice way of putting it.
Not to be too harsh, but yeah, can you tell the story? I love the story.
Well, I can elaborate on it immensely. And the short version is that having started an interior design business, I went to a conference to learn how to run the business as a business, not just a player for myself. And during that time frame, I was taking all these different classes that had to do with interior design. And I walked in on the last day of the conference, sat down in the auditorium, which after having walked trade show floors and things like this, some people will relate, some won't, but I was exhausted. It had been like 6 days long, and my feet were killing me because it was the first trade show I'd ever gone to, and I was in 4-inch pointed toe shoes, and it was just insane. All right, so picture an exhausted individual sitting down, and I could only sit in the front row because I've got long legs, and the rest of the room didn't have enough room for my legs. So I'm sitting in the front row, and all of a sudden, I kind of got out of this daze that I was in and realized that I was like one of a handful of people that were not of Asian descent in the room. And I'm sorry to say I was in a space judgmentally and didn't feel comfortable and was about to get up and leave when a gentleman walked in with 6 other people behind him, all dressed in long robes in a processional. It was Grand Master Lin Yun, and he started speaking. He only spoke Mandarin. There was a translator, thank goodness. But during that conversation, or during that presentation, he made different comments, and people would go, oh, because he'd say something about good feng shui with the translator, and every now and then he'd say something about bad feng shui. And ultimately, he made a drawing. He put it up on the overhead projector. That tells you how long ago this was. That was the technology, all right? So the overhead projector, he drew a floor plan, said, if you have this house, if there is a bedroom located in this location, if it's a child's bedroom, it can be so harmful to the child's health, the child could actually die. What he had drawn was my house and my son's room. And my son, Jeff, had died just a few months before.
Oh my gosh. So the impact of that.
Oh, huge, huge. I mean, I at that point, I didn't mind. I didn't bother me that I was being disrespectful. I grabbed my things. I ran out of there. There was no way I could sit in that room and listen any further. And I found a corner someplace in the convention center and just bawled my heart out because, how can you hear something like that? Yeah. Well, turned out there was another presentation in the afternoon in that same auditorium, and I realized I just needed to go back and find out what was going on. What was he trying to explain? Because 35 years ago, the terminology and everything that he was talking about was totally foreign to me. It was a totally different culture. I didn't know anything about energy. I was innocent and naive. Let's put it that way. The nice words. In that second, oh, I love that. I'll start using that now. So I wind up going back, and I sit in the very back row of the auditorium to hear the next segment so that I can get up and leave. And there were some things that he said that just, they struck me, but I didn't understand them, didn't make an impact. And it just, from there, it was like, okay, how do I find out more about this? At that point, there were no books. We're talking about the early 80s. No books on it. No one knew anything about it. The New Thought movement was just really kind of opening up in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So it took me about 6 months before I actually found some classes on it, and they were being presented at the University of San Francisco. And I wound up driving. I didn't live too far from San Francisco at the time. It was about an hour and a half drive. And so I wound up going to those classes once a week and listening, and just totally disrespectful. I was always asking why. You don't ask a master why. Questioning everything. I was literally, again, one of a handful of people that were not of Asian descent in the room. It was a Buddhist background. I had no consciousness, or I really wasn't even open to it at that point. So it was like everything was butting heads, but I had to find out more. So that's the really short version of how I got into Feng Shui.
You and me have such similar personalities like that. I got it. I got it. But what impact? You know, the universe got your attention there, right?
Oh yeah.
That was a biggie, and I love your tenacity to go figure out, like, what exactly were they talking about there? Like, what the heck is going on here? I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
I love your tenacity there. That is awesome. So if my listeners, if their curiosity has been piqued and they'd like to check out Feng Shui, or like to see, I wanted to interject this. You know, Linda, years ago, you signed one of your books for me, The Gift of the Red Envelope, and it still sits on my bookcase in my healing room. It's so important to me. So, so you went from disbeliever to authority and author on the subject. And I just so appreciate the whole spectrum. If our listeners are on the other side of the spectrum, right? on the they don't know, or maybe they're enthusiasts and they want to know more, what tips would you give them to apply some energy concepts, or what tips would you give them to empower them to start to play with energy or feng shui to make their world and their health better?
There are so many different ways of going about this. And so let's say, just to try to give some examples, you were talking about the human body earlier, and how it responds to energy and the correlation between things. So think of clutter in your house as being something that clogs the arteries of your body. And so by removing clutter, or even just opening up a little bit, it's like you're taking some kind of tonic or medicine to start the flow of the bloodstream, so that it flows to all parts of the body, so that you get fresh oxygen, fresh energy to each part of the body. So something as simple as starting, even if you don't get all the clutter done, just do some part of it, because when you start with the intention of doing it, you open up the world of possibilities. In fact, I have some people who say, Linda, you don't live in the Bay Area any longer, and why don't you, how can I work with you? And I said, all you have to do is to call me or send me an email. And that intention, that reaching out on your part, starts the flow. So let's go back to that clutter. Sometimes we have a lot of clutter, and I can attest to, I'm not perfect on this. I've got lots of things that I can still work on to make this work for me. And when I first heard about this and understood about this, it might be the smallest drawer in the house that has just a few things that need to be tossed. You're starting it. Okay, or maybe there are some things that need to be filed. It's not that much, 4 or 5 pieces of paper that need to be filed. Something as simple as that. It's like you're starting to take that medicine to start the movement. It's your intention, and it starts working. So that's one of the first quick, easy things. One of the other things that I often suggest to people is, cleaning windows, something like that. You want to have a clear vision. So mirrors and windows have to do with your eyes. And so having both your insight vision as well as your physical vision, it can improve that. So I have this little ritual where I will do washing windows or mirrors, and I will first go counterclockwise, removing the scum, moving the mist that is preventing me from seeing clearly, and then going clockwise, setting my intention of being able to have clear vision, improve my vision, or whatever that happens to be. So those are a couple of things. Now, as you mentioned, we are right here when we're doing this as just before the Chinese New Year. Well, we can do intentions to have a new year, to have fresh energy for that new year. And that new year could be January 1st. It could be the Chinese New Year. It could be a lot of people are on the cycle of school, so it could be in an August or September New Year that you're doing it.
Or your birthday.
Exactly. Those are even sometimes better. I have several things that have happened in my life on Groundhog Day. So rather than repeating the old over and over and over again like that, the movie, I will set the intention that Groundhog Day is my new start date. But it could be any kind of a special religious date for you, or an anniversary of the heart, that, like I would say, like when my son died, that date will always be remembered in my heart and my mind. And so it might be something like that. Or it could just be, I've got one client that actually, because of the newsletter that I sent out, contacted me and said, I'm not in my own home right now. They're doing some construction to it. When can I do it? And so I said, all right, as soon as you move in, get things cleaned up and settled just a little bit. And then the first new moon after that, set the new moon as your date, because Chinese New Year starts on the new moon. And so pick a new moon and start with an intention of the energy growing just like the size of the moon is growing. So those are times that we can do.
Beautiful. I love the way that you explain this. And really, it's about, this is the day that I'm staking the claim, setting the intention, and marking that spot, right? This
Yes.
is when I'm setting the intention to bring the awareness to get things moving, or get things cleared, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because life happens. There's things that happen in our lives, and rather than saying, "Oh, I'll be glad when this year is over," and you're in, February or March, why wait until the end of the year? You really want 9 more months of the same kind of energy? No.
Right. So let's have a fresh start today. I love the new moon concept. I actually, I recommend that to my clients a lot too. So maybe my listeners will embrace that as well. So Linda, can you tell if you have piqued our listeners' interest? I do want them to be able to reach out to you. Can you tell me the best way that they can get in touch with you?
The best way will be to actually email me. That's the most reliable. I'm in an area of the world in Washington State, which is beautiful. And once in a while we have windstorms or something like that. So telephones and cell phones are not always the most reliable. We'll just put it that way.
There's some wisdom to that, though.
So eventually I will get the email. So email, and looking for information on my website. And so my website is lindalenore.com. That's LindaLenore.com. And my email is linda@lindalenore.com. So that's the quick, easy way to get me. And I know that you're going to be having that posted on your link as well. So you can also Google Feng Shui Bay Area, and you'll find me listed because of 50 years in the Bay Area of doing Feng Shui.
And we're talking about the San Francisco Bay Area.
That's right. Thank you for clarifying that.
I have to. I'm working with some people in Australia, so sometimes some of my references don't cross over, so I have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. But there's so many different things, and if they have the opportunity to look on my website, well, definitely sign up on the website for the newsletters that I send out, and you'll get a recording called A Fresh Start. So that's perfect for giving you some additional ideas of things to do to start fresh. What you need to do within your home beforehand, and then maybe doing a ritual to set the intentions that you're really focused in on it from this point forward, to have it be a new start. But signing up for that, you'll get my newsletters, and reach out to me if you would like. Some of the newsletters about the Chinese New Year's have a whole list of things. The one that I
love your newsletters. Really, like newsletters, like some people might go, oh, but you give us recordings, you give us tips for the fresh start. It is really awesome. I have subscribed for many years and am a huge fan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I love to help people to realize that you're not stuck in the same old pattern that you've always been in. You can change it. And believe me, I was drama queen when I was first married, and the little black cloud followed me every place. And, now it is just, I can't imagine a more wonderful life. Now, it didn't instantly turn around, but things kept getting better and better and better. One of the things that I'll give one more little tip.
Sure.
Especially a lot of people have issues around both finances and relationships. So here's 2 tips, one for finance, one for relationship. Pay off a debt or pay someone, pay off a credit card. Focus in on that. Get at least one thing done, and before you start this new year, if at all possible. The first time that I did that, it was like a $200 credit card, and I was able to pay it off, and I was like, wow, I've got that paid off. It just shifts your mindset tremendously. So that would be one thing to help. And the Asian culture will actually try to pay off all of their debts, be totally debt-free to start the new year. So that's one of the things. And then as far as a relationship is concerned, what is it that you really want in a relationship? So think about an activity, not so much the person, but an activity that you really want to do. And probably one of my favorite ones was a lady that wanted to do more dancing. And she found this beautiful Art Deco painting that she put up of a couple dancing. The lady's in this ball gown and he's in his tux with tails. And she put it up. And wow, just a couple of months later, she wound up meeting this gentleman that is her dance partner to this day. And that's been 25 years. So, just some things. Find an activity that you want to do with this, this person. And that will help set the intention for it.
Awesome. Such juicy tips. I hope everybody wrote all those down. So great. Linda, it's always an honor and a pleasure to get to spend time with you. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I really value your information, your wisdom, your time. And for our audience, I hope you really enjoyed this conversation and that you're going to spring into action and make a fresh start today. So until next time, everybody, this is Aeriol Asher, your host, wishing you happy healing.